So let me go ahead and play this clip about this veteran in my area in Gastonia, North Carolina. I don't live in Gastonia, but it's, just down the road, so to speak. And about, this veteran being killed in his own home, this 74-year-old black man. And I'm just not accepting the things that's being put out there. And I want to talk about that a little bit before Attorney Rachel Wolkenstein calls in.
Family members got their first look inside this Gastonia home today after a Gastonia police officer shot and killed an armed 74-year-old Army veteran who was inside. Now, we found court documents that show that firefighters forced James Allen's door open on Saturday night during a welfare check.
Eyewitness News reporter Dave Faraday went through that paperwork and spoke with family members devastated by what happened.
Family members and friends showed us the damage to the rear deadlock as an officer fired his weapon after Allen pointed a gun at him.
I think that he probably thought someone was breaking in his house on him.
Mary Battle is in disbelief over the shooting. She says her brother, who fought in the Korean War, was recovering from heart surgery. Police say they went to the home to do a welfare check after relatives in Anson County had alerted authorities there. We checked, and last year the Gastonia Police Department did 531 welfare checks. On Saturday night, they came to the residence twice, but both times couldn't get anyone to come to the door.
The only thing I questioned about is why did they make a wellness call at midnight?
Neighbor Gene Clark told police Allen was hard of hearing, and he hadn't seen him since the day before. According to the search warrant, police claim the 74-year-old approached both police and firefighters holding a firearm after they made entry into the home. That's when Officer Josh Lefevers fired his weapon.
It should have been a better way to handle this. It should have been something else could have been done.
I'm so mad, I'm hurt.
The court documents say police recovered 3 shell casings from the home along with a .22 caliber revolver. Gene Clark says he knows police have a right to protect themselves, but also understands the family's concerns.
It goes both ways, so I really don't know. I just know he was a good man. He wouldn't hurt anybody.
Reporting from Gastonia, I'm Dave Faraday, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
All right. So as you heard there, and there was some other clips that I had listened to, and where you had this attorney. I think this attorney is like right up the road from me. That office of his is not that far from the junior high school. And he was saying that this was legal and that, police have a right to respond. You just can't be pointing guns at people. Look. Now, I'm trying to be logical here. I do understand when you have elderly people who live alone, who may be suffering from some kind of health ailment or disability or something of that nature, that, we keep a check on them, that we be able to make sure that they are okay. But I have to question, what gives them the right to break into this man's home? And like his neighbor said, why would you come trying to do a welfare check in the middle of the night at around midnight? That don't make sense. You gonna kick in somebody's door and, you couldn't see the video, but I could see the video. And, they had to break the glass, kick in the screen door for them to get in. Now you think about it. You in there laying in the bed. It's 12 o'clock midnight and you hear somebody kicking in your door. So you grab your handgun to protect yourself from the intruders. Mr. Allen was completely within his rights to point that gun and I'm not even saying he pointed the gun. He could have just had the gun in his hand. All right. To come and see who this is breaking in my house, possibly coming in to rob me, to murder me or whatnot. He had every right. Now, I don't care if it was cops. I don't care who it was. You are in this man's house. You broke in. And if there's a law that gives police the authority to break in people's houses to quote unquote check on them, it's unconstitutional. Because the Fourth Amendment of the Bill of Rights say that people have a right to be safe and secure in their person, in their houses, and in their papers. That's why you have to get a warrant to go into somebody's house. These people did not have a warrant. So I don't care if they've done 500 wellness checks last year or whatever year they did it. I'm sure it was last year. And none of them ended up killing anybody that I know of. That doesn't make this one right. You in this man's house. You then broke into his house. Any reasonable person hearing somebody breaking into their house is going to act in a reasonable manner, which Mr. Allen did. They violated his constitutional rights. Now, I don't know how far away Anson County is and why his family didn't drive, his sister or brothers didn't drive down here and check on him themselves. I don't know why they called the police to check on him and not a neighbor or I don't know any of that. But I do know that Mr. Allen was an adult. Mr. Allen was not an invalid. He did not need assistance. And so there is no justification for this shooting. I don't care if your intentions were good. I don't care what you intended to do. I know what you did. You broke into this man's house and you killed him. Now, you know, why didn't the firefighters go in first? That tells me since the cop was the one to go in first, he went in with his gun drawn. And this is a 2-year, this cop has only been on the force for about 2 years. I'm still trying to get, I just now found out his name, still trying to get information on him, but I do know he's only been with the Gastonia Police Department for 2 years. So, yeah, I'm doing much investigation into this. I do believe we do have our guest on the line, area code 917. Who do we have?
You have Rachel Wolkenstein. Hello, how are you?
How you doing, Attorney Wolkenstein? It's good to talk to you. You just called in the middle of my rant.
Oh, okay. My apologies. I don't have you online right now. So
yeah, no apologies needed. I'm just talking about this case here in my county where a 74-year-old black man, a veteran, Korean War veteran, was gunned down in his own home after police broke into his home to do a quote-unquote wellness check. And so I'm still investigating that. And you're an attorney, and definitely, you know, I brought you on to talk about Lorenzo and Corey's case. We definitely want to talk about this and them being dubbed the New York niggers by the Dauphin County Drug Task Force. But I want to ask you something since you're an attorney. Now, I don't know if you've heard this story. Have you heard this story that happened in Gastonia, North Carolina?
Actually, I have not. No.
Okay. This is what happened. You had a 74-year-old man who had just recently had open heart surgery. He had been released from the hospital, was in his home. His relatives couldn't get in touch with him by phone, so they called the police to do a wellness check, right? So the police came to his home, knocked on the front door, and this was during reasonable hours, during the daylight hours, knocked on his door. The man wasn't home, so obviously he didn't answer the door. Then they came back midnight that night, in the middle of the night, and went to the back door. Now, they say they knocked on the back door, didn't get a response, but then the fire department broke down the door, and then the police officer goes in, obviously armed, and this man wakes up out of his bed. You know, I imagine he was in the bed or whatever he was doing, hearing this commotion, his back door being broken into, and he goes to see what's going on with his .22 handgun in his hand. And they shot and killed him, shot him 3 times and killed him. Now, I heard an attorney in this local area say that, this was totally legal. Police can go into your house without a warrant. You know, he didn't mention the part about a warrant, but my understanding is they didn't even have a warrant to go in and do this welfare check. And so my contention is that I don't care how the 500 wellness checks they did last year, that this man's constitutional rights, the 4th Amendment, was violated. He wasn't an invalid. He didn't require assisted living care. He was in his own home, and that when they came in, they violated the 4th Amendment. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I absolutely agree with you on that. I mean, there is no excuse under the circumstances that you've described for them to go in there armed and then shoot a man who has every right to defend himself in his own home. I mean, that's standard law in every jurisdiction. And for them to shoot him because he had the .22 in his hand is outrageous and illegal. And the fact that they busted in the way they did with the police is also illegal. Now, there are circumstances, you know, if somebody calls and says there's a fire in an apartment or something like that, the firemen are going to break down your door, and they're going to do that. But this is not the same thing. This is not just the firemen. This was armed police, as you described it. And no, it's totally outrageous to do it. And there seems to be no justifiable excuse for that based upon what you told me. For them to come in the middle of the night like that, even if the family was concerned, and there isn't information there whether the family called back again or they went and they said, you've got to go and check. But even under those circumstances, it would have been done at a different time. It should have been done earlier if they were so concerned. Right. Before it got so late in the middle of the night. I could go on and on, as you can see, but I agree with your basic point. This was a totally outrageous invasion of this man's home, and doubly outrageous that once they invaded his home, that they shot him.
Well, I just wanted to get your opinion because you had a local attorney here on television saying that, you know, that the police were correct in what they did. And just my being a layman and, you know, just reading the Constitution, just knowing laws and covering legal cases with guests like yourself, that this did not seem to be, you know, justified in my reasoning. And like you in the middle of the night, you know, come on. It didn't make any sense. So thank you, you know, for giving me your insight as an attorney on these particular circumstances. Now,